I never really gave a shit about sleep. My sleep was never like, terrible, like going to sleep at like 1 a.m. or anything. I mean, in some seasons of my life it was, when I was in like this sort of degenerate club scene or whatever. But whenever I've cared about weightlifting and gains and testosterone, I've never really like thought to like try and maximize my sleep because I was like, yeah, you can't really make it much better than like doing some of the basic stuff that you've probably heard of, which is like, yeah, put your phone away or whatever. So in this module, I don't want to waste your time by telling you the basic shit you've heard tons, which is like put your phone away before bedtime and blue light and all that shit, right? I want to tell you one thing that actually worked for me very recently. I was recently. I've not been in the weightlifting scene, like the aesthetic body thing. I just had a kickboxing fight, so I've been focused on that. But one day I was driving over to my kickboxing gym and I listened to a podcast with Matthew Walker and Chris Williamson. Matthew Walker is like this sleep expert, and he talks about this new study that came out on sleep regularity. Sleep regularity is basically how consistently you sleep at what time. You've always heard of the importance of sleep quantity, which is how many hours you sleep. The reason why I never was so receptive to this sort of sleep advice was because I always felt like I didn't have that much control over my sleep quantity, how many hours you sleep. It kind of feels random. Sometimes you sleep and you wake up at 5, sometimes you sleep and you wake up later, whatever. It always felt random. But this was a new study on sleep regularity, and this is what they found. So they had groups of participants and they tracked how consistently they went to sleep and what time they woke up. Basically, they were looking for how big the window was of their average bedtime, like what time they'd go to sleep, and their average wake up time, what time they'd wake up. What they found was that basically there's pretty fucking bad health consequences and testosterone and energy and all that if you have a 2-hour window of sleep regularity. So if you go to sleep, let's say your usual bedtime is 9 p.m., but one day in the week from Monday to Sunday, you go to bed at like 10 p.m. It's only 1 hour difference. That's actually pretty fucking awful for your health. If it's 2 hours, it's really bad. And here's the thing, 2 hours isn't actually that crazy. Like if your usual bedtime is 9 p.m., right? You staying up till 11 one day in the week isn't crazy. You probably do that exact thing, right? Turns out that's actually really like, it's like low-hanging fruit. It's actually really fucking bad for you. And the same thing with what time you wake up. Let's say you wake up Monday to Friday at like 6:30 for school. Like that's the time you put your alarm on. But then on Saturday and Sunday, you don't put your alarm on and you wake up at 8. That 1.5 hour window is actually like a subtle destruction to your health that like I had never heard of just how bad this was. And this study basically found that the ideal that we wanted to get to was a 15-minute window or less. So if our usual bedtime is 9 p.m., we want to be getting into bed no later than 9:15. And I thought to myself, I was like, fuck, like that's actually like nothing. Like sometimes, my bedtime's like, let's say 8 p.m., right? I go to sleep early. You don't have to go to sleep as early. I just like going to sleep early, right? So my bedtime's 8 p.m. and I was like, sometimes I'm in bed at like 8:40, 9, 10. Sometimes I'll stay up with a girl or something like that. And I was like, that's actually fucking crazy that like you only have a 15-minute period. I was like, that's crazy. And I started to get excited, not insecure, but excited because I was like, maybe this is something that I have full control over. Like just make sure you go to sleep at like the exact minute every night and make sure you wake up at the exact time every morning, 7 days a week, not even 6, not even just, the weekdays, but every day. So what I did was I went onto my phone and I already had an alarm for 6 a.m., which was the time that I was waking up. And I was waking up basically consistently as fuck for that because I had training in the morning with a coach. But then I set on an alarm for bedtime. And I'd never really done this before. I always knew my bedtime was roughly like 8 p.m., whatever. And I'd just, kind of get to bed around that time if I felt sleepy, but sometimes I'd just stay up late, whatever. But I set an alarm for 8 p.m. Actually, it was 8:20. And that was like my bedtime alarm, which was basically, okay, as soon as that goes off, you need to get into bed like as fast as possible. I also then created a nighttime routine where I would have this exact same thing every night where, for example, at 7 p.m., I'd turn all the lights off and I'd light candles instead. And I'd just kind of do the same thing, like journaling, reading, whatever, for the last like 1 hour or 20 minutes of the day. every night from that point, whenever that bedtime alarm would go off, it was like a routine clockwork where I'd quickly stand up, I'd blow out the candles, I'd do the last few things, like put my phone on charge, whatever, like brush my teeth, or I usually had brushed my teeth before then, and I'd get into bed, put on the white noise sound and the mouth tape and all that, just random shit that I do for bedtime, and I would go eyes closed into bed basically within like a 2-minute period. Imagine 8:20 the alarm goes off, I do the final few minute things around my room, and then I go into bed. It's 8:23, 8:24, whatever. It's super consistent. I had the best sleep of my life. This wasn't just one day. This is I just hope you can believe me, I have tracked 5 years of sleep data. I use a device called the Oura Ring to track my sleep. I don't recommend that you get the device, by the way, because it fucks up a lot of people's mental health to be able to see that data, but I'm kind of okay with that now. I've tracked my sleep data for 5 years straight, and this is the last 3 months has been the best sleep that I've tracked so far. It's not just one day that I'm talking about. I'm talking, since the start of 2025, this has been the best sleep that I've tracked so far in the last 5 years straight. I think a large part of that is because of this regularity. So that's the tip that I wanted to give you in this module. Instead of me just going over the same shit you've heard, make sleep regularity your focus. Set an alarm right now for your bedtime and make it reasonable. Don't make it super early if you don't usually sleep at that time. Make it like 10 p.m., whatever it is for you. And I want you, to go set that alarm on an iPhone. You can set an alarm and have it repeat every single day as well. So go do that. Set it for whatever your normal bedtime is. And then also just have maybe another alarm or something on your calendar for the last 1 hour to have something kind of significant to mark. Okay, you're in the sort of nighttime routine now. So for me, what I think really helped is 1 hour before my alarm, I would stop working and I would turn all the lights off in my room and I would light candles instead. That probably helped me because of the light. It's darker in your room, so it gets you ready for sleep. But it also made it quite significant because during that time, I very much knew, okay, it's almost nighttime, sleep's really important. It's this significant event of sleep's important now. The room's almost pitch black apart from a couple of candles. So it was kind of this extra reminder of the importance of sleep and those kinds of things. So there are 2 action steps that I want you to do. Set an alarm every single night for bedtime, and also maybe 1 hour before that, maybe set another alarm for nighttime routine and have something like dim the lights. Make sure at the very least you have the big fucking overhead light off and have some little lamp instead. Do something brush your teeth at that time 1 hour before your bedtime thing. So it's everything's just kind of set that the moment that bedtime alarm goes off, you should have literally 2-3 things to do. You stand up, maybe get change or whatever, go brush, you've already brushed your teeth, but just put your fucking mouth tape, earplugs, whatever you need to do, put your phone on charging, and then get into bed at the same time. The mindset with this, by the way, is look, sometimes you'll get into bed and you won't fall asleep. There was a good few nights where I went into bed at 8:23 or something, and I wasn't actually that sleepy, but I just said, you know what, no, if I'm in bed and my room is dark, I've won. That's as much as I can possibly do. And so some nights you will literally get into bed and you'll be like, oh, I'm not very sleepy. Doesn't matter. As long as you got into bed at that point, you fucking won. You did what you could. There were other nights where, for example, I did all this. I fell asleep, but I didn't really sleep that well. And I didn't allow myself to feel bad about that because I just kept on telling myself, no, I did what I could. I got into bed at the exact same minute as always. I did what I could. Some days you just don't sleep as well. Some days you toss and turn. This was during, I was leading up to my kickboxing fight. And so obviously some nights I would wake up randomly thinking about the fight, getting exhilarated about it and stuff. So that's going to happen. And I never blamed myself for it. I don't have a little bitch attitude where I was oh, I couldn't sleep, whatever, because I did what I could. That's the one big tip I want to give you for sleep in this Aesthetic Body course is just get super regular with your sleep. Give it a try. I really hope you dedicate yourself to this. Take this shit seriously. Maybe go listen to that podcast after you finish this course. Matthew Walker, Chris Williamson. It's one of the newest ones they did earlier in 2025. And just go just fully just focus on the sleep regularity. None of the other things that you've heard about sleep so far, like the blue light or all those things. Just focus on the sleep regularity and see what happens to your gains, because when you sleep better, you will notice a difference in your performance. Before this, I always slept relatively okay. I always I never really did any terrible sleep habits. I actually had pretty better habits than most people. But I very much noticed this difference of sleep in my performance. Like I said, I was more into kickboxing during the season, but as soon as I started to do this, my performance in the gym sharply increased. It was like free like drugs basically. As I felt like 20-30% of my technique, my cardio, my everything just felt way better during these months instantly. Like it wasn't a gradual thing, it was like instant. Literally the 1 or 2 days in, I was like, my coach was impressed. I was like, shit, like the sleep really makes a difference. That's fucking awesome. And I wish that for you.